from recreating Zidane's headbutt to a corruption case that cost him his job. These are the 15 things you didn't know about Zidane's kids. And first, Zizou used one of his sons to honor a very important person. Almost every footballer has that one person that made them fall in love with the game. A player they watched and were like, yeah, I want to be like that person. For Cristiano Ronaldo, it was Ronaldo Nazario and Ronaldinho. For Lionel Messi, it was Pablo Aimar. But for most modern players, it's either CR7 or Messi. For Zinedine Zidane, his footballing idol was someone many people don't even remember. His name was Enzo Francescoli, a former Uruguayan attacking midfielder, regarded as one of the best players of his generation. As a child, Zidane admired the way he played. He didn't have much pace, but he played with a lot of grace and fluidity on the ball. His dribbling skills were outstanding, and he had excellent vision. He had a keen eye for goal from midfield and was very good at set pieces. Watching him play, you could argue Zidane was a reincarnation of him, and even Zidane himself admitted he learned all his skills from Francescoli. So to honor his idol, Zidane named his firstborn son after the great Uruguayan maestro, Enzo Alan Zidane. Speaking of Zidane's kids, a lot of people don't know that the French legend has 4 sons who are all professional footballers. His first son, Enzo, was born in Bordeaux, France on March 25, 1995. His father at the time was one of the best players in the French league, and as a result, Enzo was born into a lot of wealth and privilege. Being the son of a footballer, everyone expected him to follow in his father's footsteps, and as soon as he could run properly, he fell in love with the sport. He got his first taste of academy football when his father moved to Juventus, before he finally settled in the Real Madrid academy. Throughout his stay at the Madrid Academy, coaches and fans expected him to be good, just like his genius father, and it seemed his training was going well when Jose Mourinho invited him to train with the first team in 2011. Soon after, he was promoted to Real Madrid's C team before making his debut for the B team, the Castilla, a year after. In 2015, he was appointed vice captain of the Castilla and was promoted to train regularly with the senior squad, comprising players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Benzema, and Gareth Bale. Then, the icing on the cake was when he scored in his debut for the senior team. However, his Madrid career never really kicked off. This was his only Real Madrid senior appearance until he left the club for Alaves in 2017. But at least he tried to follow in his father's footsteps, unlike Zidane's second son, who went completely off track. Born on May 13, 1998, Luka Zidane is the second son of Zinedine Zidane. Just like his brother Enzo, Luka was born with a huge expectation hanging over his head. But after watching his father play football, Luka decided he wanted to be a goalkeeper. Despite having one of the greatest midfielders of all time as a father, it didn't make sense that Luka was passionate about goalkeeping. As a supportive father, Zidane opted to support his son's career ambitions by enrolling him in the Real Madrid Youth Academy. He worked his way up from the academy until he joined the Castilla, Real Madrid's reserve team, and became the regular goalkeeper. Fortunately for him, his father was appointed the first team manager and immediately promoted his son to train with the senior squad. Eventually, he made his professional debut for the senior team in a 2-2 draw with Villarreal on the last day of the 2017-2018 season. He was also the third-choice goalkeeper when Real Madrid won their third consecutive Champions League trophy in 2018. Just like his brother before, he also didn't cut it at Madrid and is now the goalkeeper of Granada in the second division of the Spanish league. But while Luka's football path might have disappointed Zidane, his third son seems to be the only one willing to carry on his legacy. Theo Zidane, the French maestro's third son, had a similar childhood to his brother Luka. Born on May 18, 2002, Theo also chose to follow his father's career by becoming a footballer. However, Theo started his youth career at CD Canillas, a club based in Madrid, Spain. Eventually, he moved to the Real Madrid Academy also, where his development was taken a step further. Since he was a kid, Theo showed traces of being technically gifted like his father. He played football so effortlessly and gracefully that it felt like Zidane himself was reincarnated. He also rose through the ranks and became a regular in the Castilla. When his father was manager, he too was promoted to train with the first team, and it was during this period that he showed his true potential. Quick feet, silky dribbles, speed, this kid had it all. He also inherited his father's keen eye for goals. But after Zidane left as head coach, he fell in the pecking order and eventually left for Cordoba, where he is one of the standout performers in the second division of Spanish football. But remember, we told you Zidane had 4 sons. Well, the last one too followed a different path. The youngest of Zidane's sons, Elias, had almost the same career path as Theo. He started at CD Canillas before joining the Real Madrid Youth Academy. But unlike Theo, Elias opted to be a defender, which made sense considering he is 6 feet 5 inches tall at just 19. However, he wasn't allowed to train with the senior team, but showed his class by scoring in Juvenil Clásicos. A left-footed center back capable of playing as a left back, Elias seems to have found the position that best fits his physique. But after spending the majority of his life in Madrid, he decided to leave and join Real Betis, and now he plays for their reserve team. With that, we've made it to our top 10. From here on, it will be the craziest facts about Zidane's kids, starting with an unusual statistic. If you've been following the video closely, you would have noticed that one thing is clear about the Zidane brothers. All 4 boys were trained at the famous La Fábrica Academy of Real Madrid. It means, since they were kids, they got access to some of the best training equipment and coaches in the football world. This academy produced legends like Iker Casillas, Dani Carvajal, Juan Mata, and even Alvaro Morata, who is still waxing strong for AC Milan. When you look at this list, it brings to question another damning statistic. Zidane came to his own as a player when he played for Real Madrid. He was signed for a world record back then. He helped the club win the Champions League and La Liga while also winning the FIFA Best Player Award himself. His achievements as a manager are even more insane. He became the first manager in history to win the Champions League 3 times in a row, and then simply rode into the sunset like a superhero. For a man with so many ties to Real Madrid, everyone expected his kids to at least make it to the Madrid team at some point. But after being trained and brought up in the Madrid way, all 4 of them failed to make it at the club. Some say they weren't good enough. Others say it's the pressure of having such an illustrious father, and it's hard to argue because it has happened to many other footballers. History has shown us that when a footballer achieves so much in life, it's usually difficult for their child to match their legacy, let alone surpass it. Such superstar children are born with a psychological disadvantage. Before they even know left from right, everyone expects them to magically become as good as their father. It happened to David Beckham's son, Pele's son, Maradona's son, and many other great footballers. But amongst Zidane's boys, the person who this curse hit the most is Enzo. After Enzo joined Alaves in 2017, fans expected him to perform better now that he was out of the harsh environment of Madrid. But to the surprise of many, he completely flopped. He didn't do well in training and barely got any game time. And after just 6 months, he terminated his contract and joined Swiss side Lausanne Sport. But despite now playing in a less competitive league, he still didn't perform up to standard and was loaned back to Rayo Majadahonda after just 6 months. This move also didn't work out, and after 2 years, he left and joined Portuguese side Aves as a free agent. He played there for 6 months too, before joining League 2 side Rodez. After another 1 year at Fuenlabrada, he decided enough was enough and retired at 29. When you compare his career to his father's, it's almost impossible to believe they have the same blood running through their veins. But the only positive from this story is that Enzo hasn't just buried his head in shame. He has found a new purpose for his life. For most footballers, retiring brings the much-needed rest they have craved for many years. They go on yacht cruises and endless vacations and become kinda chubby. But for Enzo Zidane, the disappointment of how his career turned out lit up a new fire in his heart. He swapped his football boots for a suit and tie. He and his father made a lot of investments over the years, and Enzo has now taken the responsibility of managing them all. The Zidane name no longer brings pressure, but opens doors to various business opportunities. And now that we've made it to our top 5, Things are about to get controversial, starting with Luka trying to eliminate his family name. Since he became a Real Madrid Academy player, Luka Zidane found out that having a well-accomplished father wasn't a blessing, it was a curse. His coaches judged him more harshly, and his every mistake was criticized. People didn't really care whether or not he was a child. At some point, he had to start using his mother's maiden name, Fernandez, just to protect himself from the media, but the pressure of expectation affected his career negatively. However, now that Luka is no longer a Madrid player, he is trying to forget his family name and forge his own legacy. He said, "In the world of football, I want them to see me as Luka. Let them judge the matches I've played so far. They don't think more than that, and they don't compare me. There are people who talk about me and don't know me. It hurts." But the blame doesn't lie solely on the family name. Some fans have pointed to something else as a contributing factor. You see, when you trace back the history of the most successful footballers, most of them went through difficult childhoods and circumstances. The early struggle in life and the inadequacy of necessities developed a hunger in their minds that drove them to success. The desire to change their story and that of their families was the boost they needed to make it to the top, no matter what life threw at them. This wasn't the case for the Zidane brothers. They were all born into a life of luxury. They didn't lack anything and had a family name that automatically gave them chances whether they deserved it or not. For sure, that hunger and innate desire weren't enshrined in them from the start. Some of them probably had other things they were passionate about, but opted to play football because they were pressured into it. To make things worse, their father became a head coach and probably fast-tracked their development through the Real Madrid ranks. I don't blame Zidane for being a father, but when he was the coach of Real Madrid, that fatherly love almost turned into a messy controversy. When Zidane became the head coach of Real Madrid, he promoted his son Enzo to the Real Madrid reserve team and increased his training time with the senior squad. He then appointed his son as captain. When he was accused of nepotism, he simply said he was treating Enzo just like any Real Madrid player. However, Enzo didn't utilize this opportunity and left Real Madrid altogether. Then these accusations resurfaced when Zidane defied club president Florentino Perez publicly. Real Madrid had been negotiating with Kepa, who was in the last 6 months of his contract at Atletico Bilbao. The aim was to sign him in January for a cut price, and it was reported that a medical had already been done, only for Zidane to announce at a press conference that he didn't need a goalkeeper and that he was satisfied with the 3 keepers they had: Keylor Navas, Kiko Casilla, and you guessed right, Luka Zidane. Luka and Kepa were of the same age, and he knew that signing him would effectively ruin Luka's chances at Real Madrid. This stunt to protect his son didn't sit well with Perez, and was one reason Zidane left Real Madrid altogether. Without the protection of his father, Luka fell down the pecking order and eventually lost any chance he had of making it at Madrid. It now makes sense why Luka said his family name hurt him, but one thing he can thank his father for is the ability to speak 3 languages fluently. Zinedine Zidane is a French national of Algerian descent, whereas his wife, Veronica Fernandez, is Spanish. Being married for 30 years, the couple took their time to teach their children their culture and language, making the 4 brothers fluent in English, Spanish, and French. Damn, I need to take my Duolingo lessons more seriously. However, being multilingual isn't the only thing they gained from their parents' union. They have the rare privilege of having multiple nationalities. All 4 boys were born in France, which automatically made them French citizens. Because their father is originally from Algeria, they are also Algerian nationals by right of their father. Having spent most of their lives in Spain and their mom being a local, they are also Spanish nationals. This allows them to represent either of these countries in football. Talk about being spoiled for choice. But what comes at number 1 will completely blow your mind. During a Real Madrid youth match against Atletico, 17-year-old Luka Zidane was sent off for headbutting his opponent. Yes, this is not a joke. The young kid recreated his father's iconic moment of madness. I guess some things just run in the family. But as crazy as having 3 nationalities is, it's nothing compared to seeing Messi play football with his right foot, or a lifetime supply of Adidas shoes. Click on the next video to see the 12 things you didn't know about Messi's kids.